Mr. Marty, you're muted.
All right. Hello, everybody. I don't know why it's doing that, why it's muting me before. Okay, so giving you a heads up, what I was saying was you are not going to be, in terms of homework, you'll notice that the homework is already online, okay? You are not going to have it due tonight. We are starting to get into one of the, basically the bread and butter of programming. And again, this is the bread and butter of programming from like for everything, okay? So that being said, what I need everybody to do is follow along with my Eclipse. What you're going to do is you're going to create a new project and a new class, okay? I'm just going to call yours method C because I have a methods already that I created. So I'm going to create a new Java project, okay? You guys can call it methods. I'm going to call my method C. Hit finish. I'm not going to create a module. Once you do that, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose new class. And I'm going to call this tester, T-E-S-T-E-R, and I'm going to add a main method. Then I'm going to then create another class and I'm going to call this methods. This one, with a capital M, M-E-T-H-O-D-S, I'm not going to add a main method to, okay?
Your screen keeps glitching in and out.
Is it?
Yeah, it's been happening in some other classes.
Okay, that's weird because I'm hardwired and I'm in my office.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
see
probably the best internet in Beverly Hills here, so. Which is weird. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, all right. So can you guys see my screen okay now?
Yeah,
okay,
but I missed the part where you created the second class. How do you do that?
Create it, right click and just choose new class again, call it methods, but this one will not have the main method.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what we have is we have this, what we call the tester class. We're going to get into the name of this class later on. Right now, I don't want you to worry about it. Okay. For the most part, okay, you will never see the tester class ever on the AP. You'll never see it. Everything is going to be done in something like this. There are instances where you're going to have to create your own class. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this. Public class methods. Let's say I say int A and string B. Okay. What type of methods are these? Or variables are these?
Global.
These are global variables. Now, 9 times out of 10, probably I'd say 99 times out of 100, they will look like this. They have been declared. What have they not been?
Initialized.
They've not been initialized, okay? So we're going to call this global variables, okay? Global variables, all right? I'm going to hit save, boom, all right? So right now I have int A and string B, okay? Now, I'm going to come over here to my test, okay, to my tester class. I'm going to make an object out of methods. Methods, we'll say M1 equals new methods. Oh, where have we seen something like this before?
Scanner.
Scanner class, right? Okay, we have the class name that we're going to make an object out of, which would be methods. M1 is the object name, and then we have this part right here. Who remembers what this part is called?
Constructor.
The constructor, okay? So M1, basically what you have to look like is this. You have created this container called M1, okay? And M1 will contain everything that is in here. So for example, if I say M1 dot, you'll notice that if my drop-down list, I have A and B. A is an int, B is a string. Okay? It gets all of those. Anything that I create, M1 now has access to. Great, perfect. But this is what we're going to be focusing on today. Methods. Okay, this new methods. The constructor. The constructor is one of the most important parts of your program. Let's say, for example, I say, okay, I'm going to now make a constructor. I'm going to say public methods, open parentheses, close parentheses. Pay attention to this signature. Public methods. The way that a constructor is done is you use the word public. You have to use the word public. And then the name of the class verbatim. It is case sensitive. So if I say lowercase m, it won't work. Public methods, open parentheses, close parentheses, okay? Now, inside the constructor, okay, is where something special happens. We can say A equals 5 and B equals Joe, okay? A constructor's main purpose, its main purpose is to initialize global variables. Initialize global variables, okay? Oops, I misspelled variables. Okay, to initialize global variables, all right? So, that being said, what happens is if I now go to here and I say sysout m1 dot b, and I print this, it prints out Joe. Because what I have done is once I run this constructor is saying, hey, okay, initialize A to 5 and B to Joe. Now, you will rarely see this happen. Some programmers do it, and a lot of professional programmers have it built in this way, but most likely you will never see it done this way, okay? Even on the AP, you're probably going to have this. Public methods, int A, or int C, or int X, string Y. And what they will say is A is equal to X, and string B is equal to Y. The reason, okay? And then take a look what happens now. I'm going to save this. I'm instantly going to get an error here. I have an error on this one. The constructor has two rules. One, it initializes global variables. Two, it's basically the set of rules you need to follow in order to construct the program. Okay, now notice new methods is empty here. That's because the constructor now says, oh, in order to run this, you need to have an int and a y in this order. Do not put string and then int. It will not work. So I have two options that I can do. I can say it's 9 and Jane, okay? Now what happens is a process that is called pass by value. 9 gets sent to X. Jane gets sent to Y. The value of X, which is 9, will then be used to initialize A, and then Jane, which is Y, will be used to initialize B. This is how you will use it. You will take data from the tester class and send it to this class. So now if I run this statement here, Jane, okay? Now, you will not ever get this on the AP. You won't get it on my test. You'll get a comment that says something like, assume that the tester class has been created and it's working functionally. You're going to get something like that. You will never get this, what I've highlighted, okay? So that being said, I want you to also take a look at this, okay? What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna import a scanner. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna create scanner KB equals new scanner system.in. Ah, notice, what does this have? Oops, what is this? The constructor, just like we have here. So in order to use the scanner class, we have to put system.in. It accepts that as a parameter. So what we're going to do now is this. I'm just going to create two questions. What is your age? And I'm going to say int age equals kb.nextInt. I'm also going to say sysout, what is your first name? String name equals kb.next. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to put age and I'm going to put name. The constructor says in order to use me, okay, I have an int first. Do I have an int first here? Yes. I have a string second. Do I have a string second? Yes. If I confuse them and I put name age, does not work. You have to follow the protocol. So if it's int first, string second, string second. You can have more than two parameters, guys. I'm just using two. So I'm just going to say age and name.
Mr.
Okay.
Marty,
Yes.
if one of your parameters for your method is double X and you have an int, can you still use it? Because
Absolutely you can. It will still pass over. Yes. It will just append a zero, a decimal zero to the end of it. Okay. So methods M1 equals new methods age name. Okay. So we're perfect. So for example, if I just say, then I say hello and I concatenate the name. Okay. So now if I run this, what is your age? 18, Jane, Hobby. Hello, Hobby. So what has happened is you have created the object using the values that the user input. You send these values over to here. The thing that you need to understand is they're references to the value. Let's say you did some manipulation in the constructor and method. Unless you specifically overwrite it, none of these variable values change. So right now we have age and name. Now, what I'm also going to do right here, take a look. I'm going to just, this is something that, now notice how I have A equals X and B equals Y. I'm going to change this to age and I'm going to change this to name. I'm also going to change these to name. Age, name, age, and name. I have age and name. Here's what you need to understand, okay? These right here, hold on one second. Okay, that's fine. So what you need to understand is this age and name right here, even though they're the same here, they don't recognize the names. So let's say in this first question, I put 18. This isn't seeing age equals 18. It's just seeing 18. This name isn't seeing the word name. It's seeing hobby. So it's just seeing the values and initializing them. It does not care what the names are, okay? Here, on the other hand, different story. Take a look what happens. I'm going to say 18, and I'm going to say hobby. Oops, hold on. Did I save it? Command save. Oh, did I save it? Oops, hold on. Age equals age, name equals name, okay? Oh, oops, sorry, I did the wrong one. I should be saying m1.name. There we go. So let's say, okay, I say 18, and I say hobby. Hello, Noel. Let's say I wanted to print the age. 29, hobby, 0. Now, granted, I know sometimes I act like I'm 0, but as you can see, this is not the case, okay? This is where we have the error. As I told you, this age has no idea that this age exists. It doesn't care. It's just looking at the value. On the other hand, here we have an issue. These two variables are what we call local dummy variables. Their sole purpose, their sole existence is just to temporarily store data so that it can be offloaded into the global. However, if the local and the global are the same name, for some reason, Java defaults to the local. So after this unloads this into the global, it will call on the local. So in this instance, when I said by default, numerical variables will be 0 and string variables will be null. Okay, so age gets dumped, it calls on 0. When I dump name and I called on name, it was null. In order to solve this, we use a keyword. This dot. When I say this dot, basically what you are saying is, okay, this local variable is going into this age, or this name, or the name here will be going into this name. This is basically the way of referring to the global variable. Okay, so if I say 18 now and I say hobby, hello 18, because I'm actually now calling, I've initialized age properly. Okay.
So do we only have to use those when the global and local variables have the same name?
Exactly. However, let's say that I just made this A. Okay. And I said A equals age. Still works. Everything's good, right? What a lot of programmers get into the habit of doing, this dot A. It does the same thing, but what programmers do just in their mind is to make sure that they're that it just keeps them organized, and that anytime I use this, I'm referring to any of my global variables. It still works. So for example, let's say I do, oh, bollocks, what did I do wrong? Oh, it's A now. So if I run this, 14, hello 14, it still works, okay? This works all the time, all right? So that is the purpose of our constructors, okay? Now, let's talk about the constructor again really quickly, okay? You guys have seen what I did before with the constructor, okay? Take a look at this line right here, line 12. On a test, if I just gave you this line and I asked you the question, does this method, or does the methods class have a constructor? What would the answer be?
Yes.
Why? Allie, why? Kennedy, why?
Is it because it's calling on it and the whole purpose of it is to initialize? So here you know they're initialized if you're
Close, but I need a better answer. It's more simple than that. Armand.
Is it because there's a parameter?
Bingo. That's the reason. That simple. If you ever have a constructor, or if your constructor signature here has parameters, you 100% always have a constructor. However, what if I do this? Do I have a constructor? Let's say I gave you this line. Raise your hand high. How many of you would say that you do have a constructor? Ignore this for right now. Ignore this. I give you this line. How many, raise your hand if you think there's a constructor. Okay, we got 2, 3. How many of you would say there is no constructor? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. The answer for this question is you don't have enough information to tell. And here's why. Okay. Because if you remember, if I save this and I come over to here, do I have any errors now? You don't always need a constructor. The other thing though that I could also do is like I did initially. Okay. Do I have any parameters? So if you ever have a question like this where it asks you, there is not enough information to tell, because as you can see, I can have a constructor without parameters. I can have a constructor with parameters. Okay, does that make sense? So anytime that I have a constructor with parameters, boom, you know 100% it's got a constructor in that class. Okay, now honestly, the other thing is this, okay? This is something that you should be able to reverse program. If I just gave you age and name, let's just say I gave you this. You should be able, right off the bat, to be able, without even looking at anything else, be able to understand, okay, if I gave you this line and I said, okay, reverse program this, given the information that you have, what's a constructor's job? To initialize global variables. So I would say public class methods because that is the name. I have 2 parameters here at least, age and name. So I will make int a and string name based on the fact that I know it's int up here and string up here. I know I have a constructor, so I'm going to do public methods. And since it is taking the parameters, I will make sure that they are in the same order that I see them over here, and then I initialize them. You should be able to write the entire class literally just looking at this. At least this much. Okay? At least that much, just by looking at the constructor. Now, will there be more variables? Obviously, yes, there's a possibility. You don't have to initialize every variable. For example, I can say string x, and I can say by default, I can say x equals null to actually give the word null. I can also manually, so in this instance, what I did is I used the constructor to initialize 2 global variables, and then I manually did the third one. Okay? So the constructor doesn't have to do every single variable. Understood? So this being said, we're going to cover some of our last topics. What I need you to do right now is save this, but have this on hand because we're going to come back to this, okay? So I'm going to close both of these. I'm going to create a new class or a new project. New Java project. And I'm going to call this bank account. You guys call it bank account. I'm going to call mine bank account C because you're block C. In your bank account, what you're going to do is create 2 new classes. Okay, I have one tester with the main method, and then another one. Just call it account. No main method. Okay. All right, so I've got both of my projects up, okay? All right, so both of my classes up. Now, this is a bank account, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead right off the bat and I'm gonna import java.util.asterisk because I'm gonna need a scanner because I'm gonna ask the user for information. Okay, so, all right, now let's think about the account. Again, an account is basically variables, methods, capabilities that you're able to do in a bank account, okay? Let's say I'm creating a bank account. Who can give me 2 common variables that you're going to need? Give me one of them.
Name.
A name, okay? So obviously you're gonna need a name. ISIS, what's the second variable that we're probably gonna need in a bank account?
An int to hold, or a double to hold the amount of money.
Bingo. So we'll say double. And what's a good name? Usually what does a bank account, what's it usually start with? What's the name of your account? Starts with a B.
Balance.
Balance. Okay, account, very good, Isis. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our constructor. We'll get to the tester class later, but the constructor, we know in the constructor, okay, that we are gonna basically be asking the user for information, right? We're gonna create the account based on what they give us. So we're gonna need a constructor. So I'm gonna say public account, string name, double balance. And each parameter is separated by a comma, everyone, okay? Just so you know that. Each parameter is separated by a comma. Then the next thing I'm going to do, this dot name equals name. This dot balance equals balance. So if I come over here and I say, I say this out. What's your name? Okay, string name equals kb.next. And then I say sysout how much to deposit, double balance equals kb.next double. Then, now that I have my variables, this is when I create the object. Don't be confused of thinking that you have to create the object up here. As Ashton learned yesterday, you have to create your variables first before you use them, okay? So now what I do is, who can give me the signature on how I would create this object? Tokes. Create this object for me.
Can you hear me?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do public, no, you would do sorry, methods or
Nope.
account,
Account, please pay attention. Account.
like A1 or
A1, that's fine.
equal
Equals.
to new account,
Okay.
name, comma, balance.
Is he correct? Everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely he is. Good job, Tokes. Okay. Account A1 equals new account, name, and balance. Okay. And then to test this, I will say, just a stupid welcome message. Welcome to welcome, and we'll just say plus A1.name. So if I run this now, what is your name? Javi. How much to deposit? 23. Welcome, Javi. A1 has the identification name of Javi and a balance of 23. This is how you create a bank account, guys. This is simply it. Like, this is back in the days when banks were starting simple Java programming. This was it. Now, what I want to, before we got a few minutes, what I want to do is take a look at this. Okay. Oh. And let's say I just said this. Let's say I did account A2 equals new account And let's say that I did A2. Hobby, how much is deposit? 23. Welcome. A1 will still contain hobby and 23, but A2 did not use the same constructor. Now you will rarely see it, okay, but you'll see it on like my tests and stuff like that. You can have two constructors. You can have more than two constructors. You can have three. It doesn't matter. Okay, but most of the time you'll have one like this and one like this. Any constructor that is made that has no parameters, okay, is called the default constructor. Okay, the way that it works is it basically calls on this. Now we've seen something work similar to the way that this is working. Okay, take a look. What do the constructors have in common?
They're the same name.
Exactly. What do they differ in?
Parameters.
Parameters, exactly. Same name, different parameters. Now, what does this mean? We learned about this term during the math class. Remember with the absolute values?
Overloaded.
Bingo. This one would be referred to as the overloaded constructor. Now, again, on the AP exam, you will not see this. You'll see it with methods. You won't ever really see it with constructors, but you need to know that it does happen. If you have the Barron's book or anything like that, okay, you will see, okay, you will see the, what's it called? If you see the accounts or whatever, if you see the different, I just have lost a train of thought, sorry about that. You will see everything, if you ever have the same name, different parameters, just know that this is basic. I lost my train of thought. Just know what an overloaded constructor is, okay? Same name, different parameters. Sorry, that's what I was gonna say. If you have the Barron's book, or if you have like the Princeton Review or something like that, or even like adhesive, okay? Some of their programs will have overloaded constructors. Another thing that happens, which I think is really stupid, a lot of programmers, for some reason, they'll put their global variables at the bottom and just start right away with the constructor. I hate this. I think it's really stupid. And it confuses a lot of my students because they're like, wait a minute, this should be an error. There's no variables. Go to the bottom. Go all the way to the end of the program and find them. They will be there, okay? It's stupid. On the AP, you'll get something like this, and they may even say, assume global variables created. Okay? I know it's stupid, Kennedy. I know I can already see it's pissing you off. Pisses me off too, okay? But the reason why is because they consider that knowledge of global variables to be so trivial. They're more worried with you working with this. Okay? Now, will you have to know how to create them? Hit or miss. It's usually, I've noticed it's like every other year. I haven't looked at what the free response questions were last year. I heard they were quite easy, which means this year they're going to be a little bit medium. Okay? So, which is weird. I'm going to take a look. I don't know. That guy thinks everything is easy though. So we'll see, because I would assume they would be more difficult because they took the exam from home. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So that being said, what we learned today, you have your global variables. The purpose of a constructor is to initialize global variables. Do I have to initialize all of them? No. Okay. Can I initialize them manually? Yes. Okay. The constructor in the tester class is basically the rules that you have to follow in order to correctly use this object or to create an object out of it. You must follow the protocol. So for example, if this is string double or string double here, string double, this needs to be string double. And again, I can use variables or I can just put the values in, all right? If you have two constructors and you have one without the parameters, one is called the default constructor. The other one is called the overloaded constructor, okay? And again, you create the object out using scanner should give you an idea. It's the way you create the object is the class name, a name for the object, and then the constructor. All right? Again, the constructors, this concept, guys, if you have this concept, it's 3 points. You always get tested on a constructor. You'll get tested on a for loop. You'll get tested on a constructor with the 4 points that you get. That's 10 points right there. That's already a third of the way to a 3. Okay? You just need 25 or basically, so basically if you get a 20, if you get 20 out of 40 on the free response, you only need 11 multiple choice question right out of 40 to get a 3. Okay? So, but don't think it's that easy, all right? I want you guys doing better. My averages are always higher than the national and global average, or local national and global averages. So I want better than that, okay? So that being said, this is where we're gonna end. As I told you guys, there's no homework tonight. If you wanna take a look at it, you can. I'm gonna postpone it till tomorrow. But as you can see, this is how important constructors are, that I can take a full class on it. And this is definitely one of those concepts where recording helps, but if I could show you guys on a whiteboard or actually be in a classroom, it would be so much easier to understand. Guys, I cannot express how much you need to understand. For loops you needed to understand because it's a building block. Notice that this isn't really, you're not really learning any new codes or anything like that. Now it's all concepts, it's conceptual, like how you're supposed to program. If you don't understand, ask questions. Okay. Even tomorrow night, I am going to allocate time to go over a review of this. Okay. No homework tonight. You will have a quiz on everything we learned. This is worth taking a look at again. Okay. So good job today. Proud of all of you guys. Good luck tomorrow. It's only going to be, I think I'm either going to do 2 or 3 multiple choice questions or 1 short answer. But I can tell you right now, I would assume 1 short answer. Okay? All right. Good job, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.